Well, hello everybody. Thank you for joining this webinar. My name is Andy Cooper. I work for Yamaha and I am presenting to you remote music education and live streaming. Now, I believe there are people from many parts of the world tuning in today. I know there are listeners from India, from Mexico, from Europe, USA. Welcome everybody and thank you for listening. So I am broadcasting from my little home studio because we have lockdown here in the UK. Maybe you do have in many other parts of the world as well. Anyway, a quick introduction about me. Here's a little picture of me. I have been working in the Yamaha research and development team for about 20 years. But also in my spare time, I do sound engineering. I'm a musician, a band leader, a trainer, an educator, and a father with two daughters who need to take part in music education, which is now remote. They are at home, the teachers are away. I'm sure it's a familiar story for many of you. So I'm at home. We have slightly lower bandwidth available here, so please excuse us that we are relying heavily on a PowerPoint presentation. But let me just show my face to let you know that we are completely live. Hopefully you can see me in a little corner window now. So hello everybody. Thank you for joining us. This shows that we are all live. So I'm just going to close this video for a little while now just to preserve our bandwidth, and hopefully we'll get through the next 30 minutes or so without a problem. So, what are we trying to do today? Well, we are in the business of creating good sound. Why do we want good sound? Because it enhances our experience. We have improved learning when we have good sound because we get a better understanding. And we have improved motivation. Good sound encourages us. And we're talking about remote music lessons here. We're talking about home video production. And we're talking about live webcasting with games, music, education, maybe even fitness as well. So before we move on, let me tell you about the Q&A section. You'll be able to see a little icon labeled Q&A. Please open that and type any questions, and towards the end of the webinar, I'll scroll through the questions and answer as many as I can live. If I don't have time to answer all of them while speaking, then I'll try and, or me and colleagues will try and do some typing to help answer your questions. But please do that. And as we get started, I'm going to start a little poll. So let me launch this, and it'll be great to find out a little bit about you all who are watching and listening. What best describes you? Are you a teacher, a student, an engineer, a professional musician, a gamer, and so on? And I'd love to know what's your preferred musical instrument for playing or for listening to. You know, are you a singer, a pianist, a guitarist, a drummer, woodwind player, orchestral instrument, and so on? And also, what do you do most frequently? Are you involved in audio recording or music mixing or live performance or video filming, webinar production, and so on, gaming and streaming? Please let me know what you are up to. It'll be great to hear from you. So while you're doing that, let's move on. I want to know how I can help you today. So I'm planning to talk about what equipment do you need to get going, how to prepare your room, and what is best practice moving forwards. I'll give you a few tips and examples of what I do and what friends and colleagues of mine do. And then we shall finish with a question and answer session. So let's get started. How do we get started? Here we need an equipment list. And here is the gear we need to get going. We need a computer or tablet or smartphone. I'm going to be talking mainly about iPad and iPhone here because they work particularly well with the gear that I am familiar with. And of course, with that gear, we need an internet connection. Goes without saying. Then we need a webcam, either built in or external. Now, there is a reasonable webcam built into all these devices, so I'm not going to go into much detail about that. But for microphones, I will talk a little bit. The microphones are built into these devices, but they're only one mic, and they're they're not suitable for a group of musicians or high quality musical instrument playback and recording. We need external microphones to make the most of the sounds of our beautiful instruments. Then we need some earphones or headphones or powered speakers. We need a way to hear the other side of the communication. And then we need a little mixer and cables to connect everything together. Hey, thank you all for participating in the poll. I see we have quite a lot of sound engineers listening in right now. Thank you. We also have music teachers, and we have a range of musical hobbyists and professional musicians. Thank you all for taking part. And what's the preferred musical instrument right now? It seems to be level pegging with piano and guitar. Human voice and drums and percussion coming up next, but there's a good range of everything. Thank you. And what do you do most frequently? Let's see here. Live performance seems to be winning. That was the same case this morning as well. Don't we really wish to get back to performing live? So the best we can do in the meantime is perhaps live streaming from our home. I'll talk a little bit about that moving forwards. And audio recording seems popular, and music mixing as well. Though, again, people are doing everything in the list here. We do have teachers, we do have video filmers, we have webinar producers, and gaming and streaming. Thank you very much, everyone. I shall end the poll for now, and we shall move on. Now, choosing equipment. I want to talk about choosing microphones, because they are the key between an acoustic sound and an electronic sound. It's the microphone that converts acoustic energy into electrical. So that is the key part of our sound system. If you're using a built-in mic of a laptop or a tablet or phone, it's going to be lower quality than a dedicated device. And it's probably going to be optimized for speech. So narrower bandwidth of frequencies, narrower dynamic range. And its position is not flexible either, is it? When the microphone is in the same device as the camera, you're going to think more about where to position the camera than where to position the mic. So particularly if you want to film 2 or more people or a large musical instrument, then you need the camera to be several meters away. And that is not good positioning for the microphone. The microphone needs to be much closer. That should be, let's say, between 20 and 50 centimeters away. Probably even closer if it's for a voice. So having an external microphone is quite important to capture the sound closer to the source of the sound. So another thing with the built-in mic, if it's on a laptop, you can really clearly hear people when they're typing on their keyboard, and that can be quite annoying. So we want to avoid that by taking the microphone away from the device. Again, using the mic on an iPhone, you get lots of handling noise. Soon you move your hand just a little bit on the device and the microphone picks it up. Taking the mic away from the device gives you a better sound every time. So, how do you choose microphone type? There are so many different types of microphone, aren't there? There's the lavalier clip that you wear on your clothes. You often see this on TV presenters. It's useful for video filming. It's quite discreet. Then there's the headset mic that you wear around your ears, and the microphone sits by your cheek. This is what I'm using right now. It's good for voice. It's close to the source of the sound, so it picks up more of the original sound without picking up reflections from around the room or other sources. But then there are other types of microphone, dynamic microphones or condenser microphones. Dynamic mics are often used for voice and for extra loud instruments, and condenser mics are often used for more sensitive instruments or for gear that needs a wide frequency range and a wide dynamic range. So condenser mics are often used for instruments in recording studios. But you can get so many types of those microphones. I haven't got time to go into great detail about them. You can find details from many of the microphone manufacturer websites and YouTube channels and so on. But I highly recommend external mics to get a better sound. Next, let's talk about headphones or speakers. We need to hear the backing tracks that we're singing to or the game sounds that we're playing along with. We need to monitor our own sounds to make sure we're passing on a good sound to the other side of the conversation. And if we are conferencing or teaching, we need to be able to hear the other side, whether that's a student or a teacher. Now, a loudspeaker might be the most convenient because it doesn't involve any wires and it doesn't involve you wearing any extra gear. But you have to be aware that a loudspeaker and a microphone in the same room does have the chance of causing feedback and, loud squealing noises. So it's always safer to use earbuds or headphones. Now, earbuds can be quite discreet. You can wear them without people really seeing them. Or you could wear larger headphones for a more full, bigger sound, but they may not be comfortable for a long time. And if you're on video, you might not want to wear them. So if you do use a loudspeaker, maybe a powered speaker, the one pictured here is like what I use. It's a HS5 monitor from Yamaha. If you do use one, keep it at a distance away from the microphone and have the microphone with its back end pointing at the speaker. Never point the front end of the microphone at the speaker, or it's going to pick up the sound of the speaker and reproduce that. And that's how you get feedback squealing noise. So point the mic at the sound source, which is probably your voice or instrument, and point the speaker towards your ears. Do not point the mic and the speaker at each other. Okay, simple tip. So, and if you're choosing a microphone, make sure you choose one that's called a directional mic or a cardioid mic. Cardioid means the pickup pattern is shaped like a heart. The main, from the front, it picks up a lot of sound. From the back, it's that little dip in the heart where it doesn't pick up sound. So directional is good. It picks up the sound in the front, not in the back. Now, mixing desks. Why use a mixer? Well, if you're just one person with a voice, then maybe you don't need a mixer, just a microphone going straight into the internet-enabled device is going to be just fine. But you will need a mixer if you want to combine voice and another instrument, or two microphones, for example. So whenever you need two devices, you need a mixer to blend them together. Maybe a voice with a backing track, or a voice with game sound, or voice with an instrument. Now, if it's an acoustic instrument that you play from your mouth or is close to your head, like a violin, a flute, a trumpet, you could use just one microphone to pick up your voice and the sound of the instrument. I'd recommend keep the microphone between 30 and 50 centimeters away to pick up a reasonable sound. But if your instrument is electric or electronic, then you're going to need a mixer to blend that sound with the sound of your voice, so your teacher or student can hear you speak as well. Maybe you have a guitar, electric guitar. Maybe you have a keyboard or electronic drums. And perhaps your instrument is rather large. Maybe it's acoustic drums, then you get specialist mics for them. Maybe it's a piano. So it's rather large for having just one microphone picking up your voice and the piano. So specialist microphones are available for those kind of instruments. And then I'd recommend a separate mic for your voice too, just to get the best sound. So we need a mixer, but what kind of mixer? Well, let's say it needs to be small and portable. So you can carry it around, maybe from room to room, or maybe, when we're allowed, from location to location. And it would be good, wouldn't it, if it was battery powered, so we could use it with an iPad or an iPhone while we're on the move, particularly if we're filming outside. We don't want to carry a mains cable with us. And we want it to be simple to set up, don't we? We don't want to have to learn, or read through long manuals to get familiar with the mixer. And then we're going to need 1 or 2 microphone inputs. Now, some microphones, like condenser microphones, they need what's called phantom power, or plus 48 volt little power supply. So your mixer should have that ability. Then you need a place to plug in your electric guitar or keyboard, a place to play your backing track, and then you need sockets for your headphone or speakers too, of course, so you can hear everything that is going in and out of the mixer. So that's a general list of the equipment. One other thing we must consider, though, is how to improve your sound with your room, the sound of your room. So particularly if your microphone is going to be a little distance from your voice or from the instrument, you need to consider the sound of your room. How much echo is going to be picked up by the microphone? The further the microphone is away from your voice or instrument, the more important this is. So make use of soft furnishings. Keep your room comfortable. If there are curtains, use them. Have carpet rather than hard floor. And use cushions. Place cushions kind of near the microphones. Don't have lots of flat, hard surfaces, because they will just reflect the sound around. The microphone will pick up lots of reflected sound, and it won't be so audible. So there you are. Be comfortable. So, well, I think I said before, keep the microphone, if it's just for your voice, you can keep it, let's say, between 10 and 20 centimeters from your mouth. But if it's an acoustic instrument, then keep it, I would say, between 20 and 50 centimeters from the instrument, just to give you a rough idea of where to put the microphone. Another thing to consider is lighting, how to improve your image. So, if your face can be seen, then the expressions of your face can also be seen. So, it's important to consider lighting. And here's a picture of the light I often use. It's very low cost and very simple. It's USB powered. It's an LED ring. I can hook the iPhone in the middle there, and the light will shine around it towards the subject. So this is fine if it's just one person with one face you want to light up. But if you can be seen clearly, you can be understood and appreciated. I find this is also helpful in kind of conferences. If you're the one that has the clearest light and the clearest vision, people are more likely to look at you and hear what you're saying. So do consider lighting. Even if it's just a music lesson, if you can be seen clearly, you can be understood more easily. Now, what other equipment do I personally use? Well, I can show you exactly what I'm using right now. Here is a photo of all my gear laid out on the floor, not of this room. I've got carpet in this room, but of another room in my house. So I have a Yamaha AG06. It's a nice little simple mixer. I'll describe it a bit more to you later and how it can be used. On the left, you can see my microphone coiled up. It's a headset microphone. It's made by a company called DPA. It's hopefully sounding very nice for you all. Then on the right, you can see little earbuds that are actually molded to my ear. That's so I don't hear much sound outside of me. I just hear the sound that's coming through the mixer. Then you can see a USB cable. That's what's linking the mixer to the computer. So my MacBook, so that you can hear me and I can hear the sound that comes through. Then you can see another microphone there. That's actually a condenser vocal microphone there that I often use for my children's music lessons. One plays the oboe and one sings, and that microphone deals with them quite nicely. Actually, my daughter's music teacher for the oboe, she said, wow, your oboe is the best one I've heard all week. And she asked my daughter, are you using nice new reeds or something? And the answer was, no, just a good microphone. So it does make quite a difference, even through internet communication applications. So why do I use the Yamaha AG06? Well, it has two microphone inputs and it has instrument inputs. So I can combine a microphone and a guitar, for example, or I can plug in a keyboard, or actually I do plug in my electronic drums, my Yamaha DTX drum kit. I can plug that in. And I've got output for headphones. You can see two different types of headphone socket there, a small one and a large one. And I can plug in speakers to it too. And it's simply USB powered, and I can power it from battery and take it with me wherever I go, and I can use it for mobile recording. If I'm videoing on my iPhone, I can use this to mix the sound, and it has great sound quality. So how do I do it? How do I get connected? This is how. Microphone input, top left. That's what I'm using right now. Then there's another instrument in, or a second microphone there. It could be a mic, it could be a guitar. Let me demonstrate. I have a guitar here, my own Yamaha APX7. You should be able to hear it when I start playing. Let's have a go. Hopefully you could hear that quite nicely. That's the way we do it. And then on the next inputs, you see there's two jacks together. That's where you can plug in a keyboard, or you can plug in electronic drums like I've done with my DTX drums. Let's just try this. I've just got to move across to another seat, and then hopefully you can hear. Maybe that was too loud. It was clipping my my mixer. Let's try again. There we go, drums and guitar. And of course my voice at the same time. Also there's inputs for backing tracks. So maybe you heard music playing earlier when you first joined the webinar. That background music was playing through here as well. And one great thing about the microphones is you've got various input types. You can see you've got XLR, the 3 pins in a barrel. You've got the jack inputs as well there. And you've got a mini jack input right in the middle if you have a headset mic. So all types of microphones and guitars and instruments are catered for there. If we look at the back panel of the mixer, that's where you can see the USB connection to go to the computer. And in the middle of the front, you have different modes of use, which makes this mixer particularly versatile. Right now I'm using input mix mode, which means all the inputs are mixed together and sent to the computer. And that's how you can hear a blend of my voice, guitar, and another instrument, keyboards or electronic drums. So they can all be mixed together. And I can choose how loud it's going to be. So maybe my drums were too loud at first, so I turned them down to hopefully make it more comfortable. Please forgive me if it was too loud and shocking. Next, some best practice or some tips for you. You see that red button near the top left? That is the phantom power button, plus 48 volts. That is needed to power some microphones. I need it right now for my microphone. You need it for some condenser microphones, which are more suitable for picking up the broad range of sounds that you have for musical instruments. Then just below that, you can see a gain control. So while you are speaking or singing into the microphone, turn up the gain control gradually until you see that little red pink peak light near the bottom flash, and then just turn down slightly from that. You do not want the peak light to be on continuously. That means you're overloading the electronics of the mixer a little bit, which would cause some distortion. So On the right side of the mixer, you see signal green lights and you see peak red lights. If the signal green lights are on, but the peak lights aren't, then you're in a pretty good place. Another tip here, you see pad switches and gain switches. They can be used to reduce volume. So if your instrument or microphone has a very loud signal, you can use the pad to quickly turn it down and make it more suitable to be mixed through the little mixer there. Down at bottom, you've got a row of controls for adjusting the listening levels for each microphone and instrument. And on the far right, in that grey shaded area, you've got the overall volume level for your headphones or for your speakers. So all well and good, fairly simple, isn't it? But there are more hidden features for people who want to delve in and get a bit more expert. I'll give some tips about that later. And by the way, there's a smaller little brother to the AG06, and that is called the Yamaha AG03. It's got one mic input with a fader. So this is particularly useful if you want to vary your level of your microphone. Perhaps while you're playing a game, you can easily and quickly reach that level control and adjust it while you're playing. And it also still has an input for guitar and keyboard. So if you're a one-man band or one-woman band, then you can use that and broadcast to the world. I'd love to hear what some of you are doing in that way. So this has the same facility for USB connection to iOS device or to computer. So once you are connected, what do you have to do? Well, here is the audio system preferences from my MacBook. And the computer automatically detects the device when you plug it in through USB. And then you just have to choose, yeah, I want to use the AG06 or AG03 for my sound input and output. And it gives you 2 channels in and out. If you're using Windows, then it probably looks like this. Again, the device is automatically detected by recent operating systems. And you just select, yeah, AG06 or 03. Simple as that. Then for each application that you use, you may have some additional preferences for audio applications. So here's an example of Skype for Business. And here we can choose which microphone and which speaker we want to use. I choose the AG06 and plug in my gear and it's ready to go, ready to conference. Now, the Zoom application, which I'm using right now to talk to you, has a couple of extra sophisticated advanced features. I want to tell you about them because it's important for music education. So when you open Zoom and you go to the preferences and settings, go to the audio settings, you can see on the far right here, I have chosen AG06 or 3 for the audio input and output, but down the bottom right, you have an advanced setting. And then you go to the screen I'm showing in the middle for the audio processing. Now, Zoom is primarily designed for conferencing, so it's dealing with voice. And one of its benefits is that it can suppress background noise to make voice sound clearer. But there's a fine line between what Zoom recognizes as noise and what we recognize as music. So we need to disable these suppress background noise options here. Suppress persistent background noise. Well, that may be like a sustained note on a violin. We don't want that to suppress, do we? Or suppress intermittent background noise. Well, that could be someone playing a rhythm on a drum kit. So, again, as musicians, we don't want to suppress that. We want to keep the noise. We want to keep the sound going. So, disable those 2 options there, as you see on the screen. Now, if we are connecting to an iOS device, iPad or iPhone, for example, then here's the gear we need. We can see my iPad. Then we need a Lightning to USB connector. That's called a camera connection kit. So The iOS camera connection kit converts Lightning to USB. Then you have a USB cable straight to the AG06. And then we just need a charging cable and a power source. Whether it's a plug-in electricity power source or a USB battery, you know, the kind of battery you charge your phone from when you're out and about, that can be used to power the AG06. So I'm sure most of us have that kit already. So, quite simple. And it allows you to be mobile. Now, let me talk about a few scenarios of what we can do. By the way, keep the questions coming in. The Q&A icon you should see on the screen. Please go there, ask any questions, and I'll try and answer them all in a little while. So, if we want to do live music streaming from our homes, maybe a house concert, 1 or 2 people, then the AG06 I think is quite ideal. You've got 2 mic inputs and an instrument, or 1 mic input with 2 instruments. You choose, and then you can add backing tracks from an additional device, either with a mini jack connection, you see that aux input in the middle, or the phono connectors at the top, the red and white one. You can plug in backing track source there. Or you can play it from the same device that you are broadcasting through. So, for example, at the beginning of this webinar, I played some music from iTunes off my MacBook, the same MacBook that I'm broadcasting to you with. So there's a loop back function on the mixer. Let me show you a close-up there. Loop back function, that allows you to send music from your computer back to your computer. It's like from app to app. So I was sending from iTunes to the AG06 mixer, and that was sending it back to Zoom, so you could hear a little kind of calming welcome music when you joined the webinar. By the way, another cool thing we can do here is add reverb to the voice or instrument, maybe to your guitar or to your voice if you're singing, and maybe your room doesn't sound sort of big or reverberant enough. You can add it artificially with that effect button. You can add reverb. Shall we try? Reverb. 1, 2. Now it probably sounds like I'm in a big hall or church. So that kind of effect could be ideal for singing. Of course, that was maybe a bit over the top just to demonstrate it to you, but you can have it more subtle. So anyway, you can switch that on for music and switch it off for when you're speaking. You can even plug in a foot switch to allow you to do that without reaching across to the mixer. Now, if you want to do video filming, if you want to make a small mobile production, here's the gear that I use. I can have 2 microphones for speech or ambience, so 2 presenters can talk with each other, or you can have 1 mic for speech and 1 mic to pick up ambient sounds. Maybe you're walking through the countryside or woodlands and you want to hear the sound of the birds through a microphone. Then I have a little battery pack there. That battery is a USB charger. So I can put that in my pocket and carry the mixer around, and then the USB connection to the iPhone via that little camera connection kit. Very portable, very mobile, and that allows you to get a much better sound into your portable device rather than using the built-in microphone. Makes a huge difference. And another cool thing you can do with these small AG mixers is do some home studio recording. It's really quite simple, and software downloads are available to use with the AG03 and 6. So you get a free download for Cubase AI, which is a digital audio workstation, multi-track recorder and editor. And also you get to use for free Cubase LE, which is an iPad app for multi-track recording and editing. So you can then, for that, it's good to use the mixer mode, which is called dry channel 1 to 2. You use that mode of the mixer, and then that handles channel 1 and 2 quite separately. So you can record them as two separate mono tracks. You could record voice and guitar at the same time, for example. Or another thing I've done recently is plug the guitar in to channel 2, but have the microphone pointing at the fretboard of the guitar. So you get the nice sound of the fret, you know, when you're sliding your finger up and down the frets. It's a nice sort of scratchy sound, nice, good to pick up with the microphone. So you can do that with these small mixers. And remember I said about sort of detailed options you have with the mixer? Maybe you're thinking, well, there's no EQ controls or there's no compressor controls on that mixer. Well, you get them in an app. So here, this is a picture of the software called AG DSP Controller, which you can freely download from Yamaha's website, yamaha.com, and it will run on Mac or Windows, and it allows you to edit the settings, the hidden settings of the AG03 or 06. You can set EQ and compression quite accurately for the two channels. You even get amp simulation for a guitar, so you can add some overdrive or distortion for different musical styles. And you get to edit your reverb settings as well, so you can choose how loud or how large a room you want to pretend to be in. And all those settings get stored and saved in the mixer as you carry it around from day to day. So you could get an expert friend of yours to set it up for you perfectly, and then you can set and forget and keep using the settings from day to day as you go. So hopefully you've learned the Yamaha AG06 and the 03, and a few little extra items can help you achieve a lot of useful things. You can use them for remote music education, internet broadcasting and webcasting with music and games. You can use them for recording with iOS devices, home recording and music and film production, and even mixing for small live concerts and seminars, which hopefully we can get back to doing sometime soon. So, maybe you want more. Maybe you don't have enough channels in them. Maybe they're too small for you. Well, no fear. I have some ideas for you. Yamaha makes a huge range of mixers. The AG03 and 6 are two of the smallest and lowest cost, but there are others available. Take a look here. This is the Yamaha MG12XU, which has 6 mic inputs and 4 stereo line inputs. And we have larger ones. We have MG16XU and MG20XU. And they all have USB connections to your iOS device or computer, just like the AG mixers do. So they are useful if you need more channels and if you want hands-on control of your EQ and compression and SPX effects. Hey, maybe you want some more sophisticated software. So Cubase has a wide range of software and apps for iPad where you can handle multi-track recording. You can go to the steinberg.net /Cubase website. Now, for music editing and production, I must confess I need the features of Cubase Pro because my tuning and timing are not always so great. And the Pro version allows a lot of adjustment there to fix me in the mix, yes. So yeah, very useful range of tools. Also from Cubase, also from Steinberg, we have VST Connect and VST Transit, which can be used in combination with Cubase. These apps allow you to remotely collaborate with other musicians around the world. So you can upload a part which you have created through VST Connect, and then another musician in another place can grab that part, add their own part to it, and then you can hear that and add more parts, or you can collaborate with many people in many different places over the internet using these VST plugins. Very, very useful things. So it's time for some Q&A. hopefully you have enjoyed listening and learning, and let's have a look to see if there are any questions there. If you haven't typed any yet, you still have time. Please open up that Q&A panel and type in some questions if I haven't given you all the answers you need yet. So thank you for the questions. I see here one of you has a piano, P115, and wants to record into your computer. What do you need? Hopefully I've answered to you. Now, I think the P115 is an electric piano. I can't remember exactly what connectors it has. It could be worth checking if it has a USB connector on it already, because you might be able to plug it in straight to your computer to record the piano. If not, it probably has a line level output. It probably has a pair of jacks on it, which you could connect to a mixer like the AG03 and 6 to go into your computer. So the equipment I have talked about should already be suitable for that. Okay, another question, thank you. Does the AG work with an iPad or iPhone using Zoom? Absolutely, it does. I was using that just yesterday evening to talk with my bandmates. Yes, it works very well. And with the iPad and iPhone, actually, you don't have any setting up to do. It just works automatically. You just plug it in through the camera connection kit and it just works. The AG06 or 03 just automatically takes over as the audio device for the iPhone or iPad, and it works. It's like a dream come true. Okay, another question here. Thank you for this awesome webinar. You're so kind. Thanks. So the question, will there be an app or in-app edition for Cubasis 3, for example, so that the effects of the AG3 or 6 can be in there? That's a wonderful request. And we had a similar request from that this morning as well. Yeah, so that's not available right now. We need the AG DSP controller running on a computer to operate the effects and EQs of the mixer. But you are right in thinking it would be a wonderful idea to have that included as a plugin in the Cubase apps. I shall check with my colleagues about the possibility of that, especially now we've had a couple of requests for it. Okay, and here's a good question. How can I send not the dry signal, but the affected sound through on Skype, for example? Well, I guess there's a couple of ways. If you're using a mixer, like I have here, you could plug your instrument into the effects and then plug the effects into the mixer. So then everyone gets to hear your effects. Or on the AG06 mixer, you can choose how you're going to send the sound. So you can send it dry using the mode of dry channel 1 and 2, or you can send it with the effect when you use input mix. So you can choose the mode. Maybe I can demonstrate it to you right now. Let's try very briefly. So I've got my guitar there. I can add reverb to it, and you should then hear the reverb. And then without the reverb. So that's using input mix mode. Now if I turn it to dry mode, then you will just never hear the reverb. It'll just be the sound of the guitar. So I hope that is clear. I hope that answers that question there. Okay, and let's look for a few more questions. Thank you, everybody, for sending them in. Okay, you're letting me know what gear you have, Andrea. Thank you very much. Looks like a lot of fun. Then, okay, how can I send dry signal? We've answered. Okay, so here's a good question. Yes, thank you, Tom. The iOS device won't power the AG, I imagine. Just double checking. Yeah, you are quite right. The iOS device, your iPhone or the iPad, cannot provide enough power through its lightning connector to power the AG mixer. That's why we need a little mobile battery pack or charging connection. So we can have a little USB micro cable going from the AG mixer to the battery pack or to the USB charger. So it's very simple to achieve and it can be mobile, but we do need to remember to bring a charging cable with us. Another question here. For music classes online, do I recommend Zoom? Well, Zoom is what I've had the best experience with. And Zoom is what is being used actually for my children's music classes as well. So yes, it has those good options where you can switch off that noise reduction that is useful for speech but not useful for music. So yes, it is. It clearly seems to sound better for music, and so we've had some good success using Zoom. Then another question, with remote teaching, do we have any influence on the sound that comes from our student? That's a very good question. So you don't have within the app, and you don't have within an AG06 mixer, but there would be a possibility if you had some other much more sophisticated mixer, but you would probably need to have some sort of EQ control and so on. But that isn't going to improve the quality of the sound. It will just change the character of the sound. So really, I think like I said near the beginning of the webinar, the way to get the best quality of sound is to use the best type of microphone. So to influence the sound that comes from your student, persuade them to invest in a good quality microphone. So get a good capture of the sound in the first place. So yeah, there's no magic way around that. You can't improve the quality that's already coming through the internet. You can change the character of the sound with tools like EQs, but it's not going to improve quality. Okay, let's scroll through a couple more questions. I'll maybe take two more, and then I shall switch off the webinar, but I'll keep it active so I can type in a few answers. So anyway, let's find a couple of more questions that I can answer live. Thank you so much for submitting so many questions. Okay, here's a good one. On the AG, when you tune the effects and EQ with the app, is it staying inside the mixer for future use of these effects later without the app? Yes, it is. So yeah, when you use that AG DSP controller software, you can tweak the sounds. And by the way, it has some good presets in that software for different types of voice and instrument. So if you're not sure how to get started, it gives you some good starting points. So you can choose your favorite preset, or you can tweak your own sound. And the last setting that you have when you close the app is a setting that will stay in the mixer, even after it's switched off and switched on again. So yeah, it's quite intelligent, but you still get the on-off buttons on the mixer itself. So you can switch on the EQ and compressor, you can switch on and off the effects. So you get that simple hands-on control that you need when you're out and about. And another question here. Can I use the AG with online communication with iOS device? Yeah, you certainly can. So yes, you can run Zoom on your iOS device and communicate online with that. Yep, I've used apps like WhatsApp and Facebook to communicate as well on an iOS device with an AG mixer. Yeah, Or you can go live with YouTube from your iOS device with the AG mixer. Yeah, it is so versatile and easy to do. Here's a question. Does MG Mixers also have EQ and effects apps? It depends on the MG mixer type. There's such a range of mixers. I recommend you go to our website and check. Let me show that again on the screen for you. Here, yamaha.com/2/MGXU. That'll get you to the XU range of mixers that all do have effects and EQ. Now, some of the MG mixers do have a little iOS app that you can use to edit their EQs and effects. There are some simpler, lower cost MG mixers that do not have effects in case you don't need them. So there's such a range. Some do, some don't. You can find the one that meets your needs best. And here's another good question. Could there be a larger AG type mixer which could perhaps record up to 4 or 6 channels? Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, because the MG XU does just stereo mix. You have a TF mixer though. Yeah, so the TF series is the next solution for true multi-channel recording. You can record up to 32 channels with that. Yeah, I understand it's a bit heavy and big for home recording, so something in between is needed. Yeah, let's think about that. Okay, one more question, and then I shall close and then try and type answers to other ones. Okay, here's a question. What about the student? Which kind of equipment does he or she need? So I think I said as I was going through the webinar, it depends on the type of instrument they have. And I mean, of course, in many cases, the budget of the student is a little lower than the budget of the teacher, but they are going to need a microphone. And if they have an acoustic instrument that's small enough, maybe played from the mouth or played by the hands, sort of close to the mouth, like a violin, then one microphone may be enough to pick up all of that sound. But if it's an electric or electronic instrument, then they will need a mixer because you've got to hear their voice and you've got to hear the instrument as well. And I can't think of anything more suitable than the Yamaha AG03 and 06 for that purpose, just because they're easy to use and they have all of the features that you need for that purpose. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. I'm so glad so many of you could join us for this webinar. Now, we are going to put a recording of this webinar up live for people to hear. So if friends and colleagues of yours missed it, wanted to join in, they'll be able to hear. And we aim to put up a recording of it onto our YouTube channel as well, Yamaha Global. If you find that on YouTube, you'll find hundreds of videos about all the Yamaha musical instruments and professional audio equipment. So please go there and take a look and tell your friends and colleagues to listen back to this webinar once it's online there too. If you are hungry for more teaching, more information, then we have a lot of teaching material at our Audioversity pages. You can go to yamaha.com/2/Audioversity and find out lots of teaching material about acoustics, about audio, about mixing, mixing live music and studio mixing and a whole range. So please go there and find out more. And it remains for me to say thank you very much for joining us. I wish you all well, stay safe, stay healthy, and I hope that we can communicate again sometime soon. Thank you, everybody, very much.